Alright, welcome back. For this video, now that we've kind of seen how to create a character and kind of what a party might consist of or look like, we're going to go through a little bit of a scenario here, a battle scenario, and kind of get the idea of how a battle flow works. Now this won't be able to encompass every possibility, but it's going to look at the various things you can do with your characters and how they can kind of interact with each other. So because this is just me showing you how a battle works, you're going to see both sides of how it works, including the DM side and the player side. You won't have privy knowledge, of course, to the DM side when you play for your own, but for this we will kind of look at that just to kind of show what's going on here. So in this scenario, let's say you are your group of adventurers are looking for you've had rumors of a bandit that is troubling travelers when they walk through the leafless woods. It's a section of the forest that often the trees don't have any leaves, and that's why it's called the leafless woods. So your group heads out to see if they can find this bandit and put a stop to whatever issues or whatever things they're up to. And so here's your group. They're coming down this mountain path that's leading down into this little valley where these woods are. And so what we've got here is you will probably be asked by your and we're using Tabletop Simulator, of course, for this particular situation. Maybe you're doing this on something else, on Roll20 or another type of online service, or maybe even in person. It's all going to be very similar. I'm just using Tabletop to kind of show you some figures and stuff here and kind of get more of a visual for what's happening. So you've got your group here, and you're going to have what we call kind of a marching order. And so your marching order helps the DM figure out kind of who's out in front, because those people might be the first to trigger traps, or the first ones to be attacked by potential enemies and stuff. So usually you want your strongest characters who have more constitution, like what we call your tank, which would be, Mara here. She's a fighter. She's got some high defense. So does Rurik, and so does Stumbleduck. And so traveling in the back, Stumbleduck, our barbarian, right here. So traveling in the back, we've got our Druid Nightbreeze and our Wizard Astaro. And so you'll be traveling until a combat is initiated. Oops, where'd she go? There she is. Until combat is initiated, you'll be traveling kind of at your own. Unless your DM says otherwise, you'll be kind of like telling your DM, where you're moving, kind of moving the characters along. But you might want to move as a group. So we're just going to move them as a group. They're coming down this path here, and there is, like I said, there's the passive perception that you have on your characters that is listed right here. So your DM should be aware of whatever your passive wisdom is, and they're making checks to see what you're looking at. And maybe you realize that this section of the forest is possibly a good spot or you've conferred with your other teammates that maybe this is a spot where there's likely to be an ambush. And so as you go along, you may be rolling, if this isn't enough to see something, you might be rolling perception checks to see if you spot anything. So a 21, that's a pretty high check, so you might be able to spot something. Maybe your DM says to you, hey, you think you spot something moving, so you know that there is something out there, but you can't quite make out what it is. And so as you continue through this woods here, you can do different things. This is where the improvisation of D&D really comes into play. So maybe from that perception check, you got the idea that maybe there's an ambush coming up. So you want to prepare for a fight. So maybe your spellcaster says, I'm going to go ahead and get ready a mage armor spell. And so that way, if some sort of fight breaks out, I can go ahead and cast that as a reaction. and your DM can approve that or not. It's really up to them. They're gonna use the rules of D&D, but they're allowed to make exceptions. And it really just kind of, they're the ones running the game and really providing the world for you. So as you move along, let's say we're just moving along and you pass by this stream, your DM may have characters that are around you, but not really privy to you knowing that they're there yet. Maybe they're considered hidden, and so you don't see them, but maybe they are behind these trees hiding out, or in some bushes or something, some bandits that are waiting to attack. So as you get closer to this log up here, where you see someone has been freshly cutting wood, out from behind this big log you have a bandit captain who steps out and says something to the effect of, "Hold, what are you doing?" And then you have a back and forth about how maybe the bandit is wanting you to pay a toll to go through this forest. And you can refuse, or you can try to use persuasion to make some checks to see if you can persuade him to let you by, or you can do some insight to see if he's lying to you, or other things like that. So this is really where some of the role-playing aspects come into it. And maybe, if your characters, the way you've set up your character is that they don't back down from a fight, like Stumbleduck is. He's not going to try to talk his way out of it. He just keeps mumbling about, let's get this on, let's fight. Or maybe you've got Rorik, who is that priest and he likes to keep quoting or misquoting scriptures, so he's going to say random stuff to try to dissuade this bandit captain by using scriptures. And maybe Nightbreeze is kind of like feeling out, using her nature skill to try to figure out if there's other bandits and maybe where they're at. So let's say things start to devolve and you can't persuade this bandit captain to let you pass, and he's threatening you to fight, and he does a low whistle, and out from behind a couple of trees you see a couple other bandits kind of pop out, and he's letting you know basically that he's not alone, and that he makes the mention that maybe there's a few others that you can't see, and that you're surrounded, and you probably would be best not to fight. And if that's the case, and you still refuse, you don't want to give him whatever he's asking you for, you would then, he might say, "All right, men, get him!" And so you would basically at that time initiate combat. And if you had set up a reaction for a Starro here, or your wizard to cast Mage Armor should a battle commence, then maybe a Starro goes ahead and does that. So on his wizard, before he rolls initiative, he is going to come down and use up one of his first level spells. He should be a long rest. Why is his hit point changed? Alright, so he is, he's got the 7 hit points there, and he's going to use Mage Armor, so it casts and provides a little slot there for him. So he now has Mage Armor. Now Mage Armor, what it does is the target's AC becomes 13 plus their Dexterity modifier. So right now it's 12 is our AC, but now he's going to get a boost. He's going to go 13 plus his Dexterity modifier, which is 2. So now it's up to 15. So we have to keep in mind that his armor class is now 15. So then what happens is your DM is going to ask you to roll for initiative. And so on D&D Beyond, it kind of looks like this. He's going to put in, he can either manually roll for the initiatives for his enemies, or he can just hit auto roll, which gives them initiatives. And then each of the characters also need to roll for initiative. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So each one, if you just click on the initiative, it will roll for you, or you can roll manually if you've got some dice. make sure you include with the D20 your initiative score. So that makes 15 for Mara, 15 for Stumbleduck, 12 for Rurik, 14 for Nightbreeze, and then Astaro is going to end up with 11. So what your DM is going to do is he's going to plug those into into the encounter. So we've got 15 for Stumbleduck, 15 for Mara, and 12, 14, and 11. 12 and 11. So once your DM puts in all your initiatives, they can just hit start, and that starts the first round, first turn. So who's up first is the Bandit Captain. And so let's take a look at what the Bandit Captain can do. So this is going to be privy to information privy to your DM, but not necessarily you. So here is the things that the DM is going to be looking at. So they've got an armor class of 15. They're wearing studded leather. That causes their armor class to be 15. They've got 65 hit points, so he's a strong fellow. It's going to be for a level 1 group. This is going to be a little bit of a tough fight because his challenge rating is actually 2. So that means that the way the challenge rating works is 4 characters of level 2 should be able to take him down if it was just him. So it's going to be a little bit difficult. He does have a multi-attack. He gets attacked twice. He's got a scimitar and a dagger that he can use, and he can do a reaction which is called a parry, where he can add in 2 to his AC against 1 attack per turn. So per round. So there's rounds. I'll go in through all the characters as a round, and then the first person is the first turn here. So let's look at our sheet here. So we have the Bandit Captain. He's gonna all right, rush him, and so he runs in, and he's gonna say that probably he's got 2 choices here. He can either try to go around everybody, which he could make a run for because these are 5-foot squares. So 5, 10, 15, 20. He could make a run for Astaro, who's the weaker of the group. He's a wizard. He can probably tell that Mara is a soldier type. He's got a barbarian gnome in front of him and a cleric. But he doesn't have any ranged weapons. So he's going to have to get in close here. He's got a pretty good intelligence, meaning he's going to be strategizing a little bit. He's not going to be entirely stupid in his moves. He's got pretty high dexterity, meaning he's quick, and he's not too bad in being strong. He's got pretty high charisma too, so he's probably not going to be easily persuaded to desist in what he's doing. Alright, so let's go back to that. Wait, what was his movement? So typically his movement is going to be 30. Yep, almost all humanoids are 30. Smaller ones like dwarfs and stuff have less. Certain ones have a little bit more, like elves and stuff. Alright, so let's go and... Okay, so the DM's got to think about what is motivating this guy, and what is he gonna do? Is he going to make a run for Astaro? Is he going to, which would leave him open to being attacked from behind by these people, or will he brashly? He kind of sees his group as the superior group, so he's just going to go running head-on onto Stumbleduck here. And so he runs at him, and he's going to make a couple attacks here with his... he makes up to 3 melee attacks, 2 with his scimitar and 1 with his dagger. Or the captain can make 2 ranged attacks with his daggers. So he could throw his daggers, but once he throws them, then he doesn't have them until he retrieves them. So he's going to run in and attack with his scimitar and one with his dagger. So what we'll do here is we will roll for him. The DM will roll for attack. And the DM is going to add in his attack 15 or 5 plus 5, so this makes it a 16. Stumbleduck's AC is 16, so that matches. It has to match or be higher to be a success. So he hits Stumbleduck once with his scimitar. Let's roll again. Okay. Let's roll it. Sorry. Okay. So his second roll, even with the plus 5, is only 11, so his second scimitar hit doesn't make it. And then he's going to do another third attack with his dagger. And that one is an 8 plus a 5, 13. So only one of those was successful. And so Stumbleduck is going to take... Now your DM can make the decision. They can either roll a d6 and add 3, which can get up to a potential of 9 damage, or they can take the automatic damage, which most DMs just do the automatic damage, and that's 60% of the maximum total damage that you could take. So most of them will usually go with the 60%, because potentially if I rolled a d6 and got a 1 plus his 3, he would only roll 4 damage, and we just want to get a consistent number. So we're going to use 6 damage, which is pretty good on a pretty good hit on a first level character. So Stumbleduck's going to take 6 damage from this attack. And that's a pretty nasty hit. He got a pretty nasty hit with this particular thing here. So now that we have done them, the next person in line would be Mara. So Mara is up. She's just seen this bandit run up and slash at poor Stumbleduck, and so she's going to come to her partner's aid by just stepping to maybe to the right here and engaging this bandit captain head on. It's not quite head on, but it's still within his line of sight, so she's not getting any kind of advantage on this attack. Your DM can make decisions on whether or not they're going to grant advantage, depending on what's going on, if what kind of conditions, like maybe you blinded the character or other stuff like that. So she's going to come in with her great sword, and she's going to make an attack. So let's pull up Mara here. Now, the nice thing about D&D Beyond is, like I said, you can just use the stuff right here. So she's going to take her great sword. All right, and so she got a 13, and I don't think that's going to be enough to hit the poor bandit captain. So the 15 was the AC. So unfortunately, she gets in there and makes an attack, but the bandit captain dodges it, and no such luck with that. So let's look at the next character here. Then we have Stumbleduck's turn. So Stumbleduck is a barbarian, and for their fighting, he is going to use rage. So he uses rage, so this will be the first one that he's using. And what that does is for up to a minute, basically 10 rounds. Remember, there are each one time you go through this is a rounds, and it's supposed to be about 6 seconds worth of combat for each person to go through this whole entire thing. Everybody's kind of should be happening simultaneously, but due to the way that the nature of everybody needs to have a turn, it's not happening simultaneously, but it's still just considered 6 seconds of an actual fight. So for a full minute or 10 rounds, he is going to be able to add +2 to his melee damage. He can make advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. It's +2 melee damage with strength weapons. Resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So now he has, if I had this on before he got attacked, he would only be taking would have took half the damage that he initially got from that bandit captain. Now, if you were to multi-class and try to give a barbarian some magic, you got to keep this in mind too. You can't cast or concentrate on spells while raging. You're just too furious and just too pumped up that you can't do that. Alright, so now he is pumped up, and he's going to add a +2 to his damage. First we got to hit him. So he's going to take both of his axes and just try to lay waste into this particular bandit captain. So here's what you got to keep in mind though. Unless you're proficient in most fighting characters can use 2-weapon fighting, but you have to have the actual feat to be proficient in it, to excel in 2-hand weapon fighting. So if you're not proficient in it, then you have to only one of them gets to use the +4 from your strength and proficiency to the attack. So we'll roll that. Alright, so he got a 20 for his first hit, and we're going to roll the second one. And we're going to add 2 for the strength to this, so 14. So the second one doesn't hit, but he did hit with the first one. So he's going to do some slashing damage. And he rolled a 6 plus the 2 from his strength, plus an extra 2 because he's raging. So he's going to do 10 damage to this bandit captain. So he gets a nice, good one hit in on him and misses with the other, but the first hits him pretty hard. So that's good. Alright, so we've got, the next up is Bandit 1. So let's take a look at our bandit situation here. So we have 2 that are visible, Bandit 2 and Bandit 3. So Bandit 1 is not yet visible, and so your DM will make a decision of where they're shooting from. And since they're hidden, they're going to get advantage on their attack, and they do have a long-ranged weapon. So let's look at that. So the bandit has a light crossbow and a scimitar, and so he's going to shoot with his scimitar. I'm going to put him up here for now, but just keep in mind that your DM may not disclose the location of the bandits until they become visible. So let's say this bandit 1 is shooting from behind cover and nobody's being seen, and he's going to shoot at his closest target, which is Night Breeze. And so he's going to get the advantage on the target because they don't know where it's coming from, and so not even expecting it really. So he's going to get to roll advantage. Means he rolls twice and chooses the better of the 2. So we've got a 12 and 15 plus an extra 3. So they're going to obviously take the 18. And 18 is more than enough to hit Night Breeze's 15. So she's going to take, from that hit, she's going to take 5 damage from a crossbow bolt. Now, because this, because he gave away his position, Night Breeze can make a perception check to see if she figures out where this is coming from. And her passive wisdom is already 15. That's just a medium difficulty. So I, as a DM, will say, you don't even need to make that perception check. You automatically figure out where he's coming from. And so now at this point, I would say this bandit is now visible. You've kind of spotted him from behind his tree here. And Night Breeze can identify where they're at, and the others kind of get to kind of share that knowledge. All right, so next up is the next person on our list, and that is actually Night Breeze. So Night Breeze gets to make a kind of a return fire here, but there may be something else that we want to do instead, because Night Breeze doesn't necessarily have any long-range weapons except for her spear, but if she throws it, then she'll be without a weapon. So we don't necessarily want to do that. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to look at some of her spells here. So we've got some Druidcraft is more about just kind of creating some intimidation things. Shillelagh is just kind of an extra bonus damage if he gets in attacks. Goodberry gives some healing, which would be nice. We probably should do some healing, but we're going to maybe postpone that for a moment. Let our Cleric do our healing. Ice Knife would be a good long-range weapon. She could attack one of the guys, but we only get two. We only get 2 slots. She's fully rested, so she's got 2 slots, and she needs her health back. I was messing with this earlier, so all right. So she's got nope. Never mind. She got hit. That's right. What am I putting that back for? All right. So what we're going to do, speak with animals, probably isn't going to help out in this situation. I don't see any animals around. So that's not going to do very well for right now. Let's see. So what she's going to do is she's going to actually use Entangle. Now, what Entangle does, it says grasping weeds and vines sprout from the ground in a 20-foot square, starting from a point within range. So the range is up to 90 feet. And if she does create this thing, she has to concentrating on it for up to a minute. So she has to maintain concentration. So if she gets hit again while she's cast the spell, she has to see whether or not she continues to maintain her concentration. And so they have to beat a 13 on the save if they want to avoid getting, they have to do a strength save of 13. Otherwise, they're entangled by the plants and become restrained. And we'll talk about what that means if this works. So what we're going to do is she's going to turn, and she is going to cast Entangle. Now, Entangle has up to 20 feet, so it'll be four squares as a 20-foot cube. So this would be that. So she could cast it. If she casts it here, all of the creatures, including herself, would have to do that. Instead, she might end up casting it. Well, actually, what we're going to do, we're going to actually change that, because this wouldn't be a good. If there's a bunch of people together, this would be better. But she's going to save that. Let's go with Ice Knife. Or nope, she's going to use Goodberry. That's what we're going to give her some health. So she's going to take some of her health back using Goodberry. Now, what Goodberry does is Goodberry creates 10 berries that she just kind of like produces into her hand, and she can, for each one of those she eats or gives to somebody to eat, they give that person 1 HP for each one. So she's going to shove 5 of those in her mouth and heal 5. She can save the rest of them for later. You just have to kind of remember that you have 5 good berries left. Alright, you can put that under your notes if you need to. Right here. So I could put in 5 good berries. Okay. We can always delete that later if we need to, if we use them. So that's what she's done with her turn. So let's look at Rurik. So the next one up is Rurik, who is our cleric. Maybe he starts spouting some more scripture verses as he decides to join in the fight. What we're going to have him do, though, let's look at his card. He's got a crossbow. It's a +3 to hit, 1d8 plus 1 damage. He's also got a warhammer, which he can use with single-handed or with both hands. He's got a spell, Guiding Light, but now keep in mind he only gets 2 first-level spells, and that's where his healing magic is. So he may not want to use that yet. However, he's got a long-range spell called Sacred Flame. Now, the thing about this one is it doesn't require a hit on his part. He basically throws it into an area, and the enemy has to dodge the spell, otherwise they take damage. So this forces your opponent to have to make the save versus you making the save, or making the hit. So let's say he turns to this poor bandit over here that has just given himself away, and he is going to use his Sacred Flame on because if he tried to use his bolt, his crossbow bolt, this guy is partially undercover, so it's going to add a +2 to his AC. So if he uses this other one, though, it doesn't give him the bonus. So he casts that Sacred Flame. It shoots a flame over here, and now this poor bandit has to try to make that dexterity saving throw. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so that was this bandit right here. And his dexterity saving throw, he gets a +1 for that roll. So let's roll that. Alright, so he got a 15. So yeah, he easily dodged that, but that's okay. That happens. So he jumps out of the way, what kind of puts him out into the open. It doesn't take any damage, but now he's not under any cover. So it kind of got him to move a little bit too, which leaves him more vulnerable. So let's see who's next. Alright, so Astaro, our wizard, is up. Now, Astaro has a number of things he can do. He's got some daggers, so these are his only weapons that he's got. He can run and use double daggers. They're not super powerful. A d4 +2, the maximum he could get there if he got 4 on both would be 6 for each one, and he'd have to hit with both. So he's not great at melee combat, but he does have his Firebolt, which is a d10 if it hits. He gets a +6 due to his proficiency with intelligence and his proficiency bonus. So he's getting a +6 to his roll on that one. So that's a pretty good chance that's going to hit. Let's see what else spells he's got. So he's got Mage Hand. Mage Hand is basically you create this corporeal hand out of nothing, and it can pick things up and move stuff around for you. There's things you could potentially do with that. Maybe try to trip the guy or something like that, but that's not super great at the moment. Minor Illusion, you could use that to kind of maybe create an illusion, a sound or an object, maybe distract him. It's going to be super grateful at this moment, though. Thaumaturgy is basically you cause your voice to boom or you cause flames. It's basically an intimidation type spell. Charm Person, now that's one we could potentially use. So we could try to charm this guy and have him help us out. You attempt to charm a humanoid you can see within range. It must make a wisdom saving throw. If it does so with advantage, if you and your companions are fighting it. So if I did this on the bandit captain, he would have advantage because we're actively fighting him. If it fails a saving throw, it is charmed by you until the spell ends or until you or your companions do anything to harm it. So this one doesn't require me to maintain concentration. It's good for an hour. If it hits, they're under our control for an hour. The charmed creature regards you as a friendly acquaintance. When the spell ends, the creature knows it was charmed by you. So you can't necessarily give it exact orders, but it'll treat you as a friendly acquaintance. So if we were to charm one of the bandits, we could get them to consider us friends, but he probably wouldn't attack his comrades on our behalf. So that might not be the best one here. Comprehend languages. If I needed to talk to someone, we could do that. Detect magic, and didn't know their language, you could use that. Detect magic is not going to help out here because nobody's using magic. Mage armor we've already used. Now the last one here is Magic Missile. Now Magic Missile is a ranged spell that doesn't have a hit requirement because they always hit. There's no, as long as they're within range, this particular spell is like a homing missile. It always hits. And so what it does is it creates 3 small missiles, and you get to choose the targets. They all hit at the same time, but they do 1d4 + 1 force damage. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to use this one here, and we're going to pick the 3 targets. So we've got 2 bandits here that we know that they're probably less of a threat than this right here, but they're also kind of far away. So we're going to choose, and they're still within 120 feet of Astaro. So he's going to choose this guy to take 2 of those, and this guy to take 1 of those. So let's go ahead and do those damage. So he conjures these 3 magic missiles, little tiny missiles to shoot out from his hands, and they're going to automatically do damage. So here's the first one, +1 plus, so it's not that great. Let's see what we get for the second one. Alright, so that one's better. So we've got 7 damage to the one guy, and now the third one is coming to the other guy, and he's going to take 5. So let's go ahead and do that. So he's going to take 5. And the other one, which was Bandit 2, is going to take 7. Or wait, was it? No, it was, yeah, it was 7, wasn't it? Check the log. 5, yeah, 7. So he's getting hit pretty hard. But he's still standing. Now, bandits and stuff, you know, they have enough intelligence to just average intelligence, but they want to, you know, preserve their own life. So they're not going to necessarily always fight to the death unless they absolutely have to, but they're going to stay and fight with their captain. So as long as the captain's up and breathing, they might fight to the death. So let's go to the next person. So Astaro is up. So this bandit here, number 2, is now up. And number 2, he is now going to try to get behind cover again. He's been exposed. He's going to get behind cover, and he's going to make an attempt to shoot from behind cover at Astaro, who hit him pretty hard. So we will do that. Roll the d20. And okay, so this is interesting. So a critical miss is a 1. It means it automatically misses no matter what attack bonuses you put into it. A d20 is a critical hit, means it hits automatically no matter what their armor class is. So on a critical miss, this has the potential to go very badly, and your DM can kind of choose what they want to happen. It could just be a simple miss, or it could be something even worse. So your DM might ask you to roll another d20 to see so they can determine what comes of that. Oh, so this is really interesting. So not only did they have a miss, but they had a critical miss. So let's say the DM makes a decision of what happens here. So let's say he is rattled so much from that damage to him that he comes over here, he pulls out his arrow, and as he's loading it, he trips on himself and shoots the arrow right into his own chest. So he's going to take his damage from his own weapon, which is 5 damage, and he ends his own life accidentally by this arrow to the chest from his own weapon. So he takes himself out, unfortunately. And that's some things that can happen when you do a critical miss. You might have something bad, a weapon might break, you might accidentally hurt your friend, you might accidentally hurt yourself. It kind of just depends on what happens and how the DM wants to respond to a critical miss. But they're never good. Critical misses are never good. Alright, so the next up is Bandit 3. Now Bandit 3 is exposed. We come with one of this over here that kind of came out as well. So he, seeing this fight, he's going to run behind a tree and take a little cover, and he is going to shoot at the closest that he can. Night Breeze is kind of being obscured a little bit by Rurik, so she's going to have a little bit of cover from being behind Rurik. Astaro's in the open, and Stumbleduck. So he could go after Night Breeze, who's already been hit, but it wouldn't be. She'd have a little higher AC now because she's being obscured by Rurik. But he's just going to shoot at Rurik instead and take his chances there. So let's go ahead and roll for him to shoot with his crossbow. Alright, so he got a 9 plus a 3, that's a 12. I don't think that's going to be enough for him to hit Rurik. Nope, 17. So Rurik kind of bats it away with his shield, sees it coming really easily, and bats it away with his shield. All right. So then lastly, we have bandit number 4, who has not yet been introduced. So he too is kind of just hiding, and he's going to say, I'm going to put him on the field for now, but your DM may not reveal his location until he's spotted. So let's say he's behind this tree over here, and he's going to take a shot at Astaro, since he's got a clear line of sight, and Astaro is just out here in the open. So let's move. There we go. Now Astaro's got his mage armor, so he's got to get a 15. Ooh, that was a close, almost a nat 20 there. All right, so 8 plus the 3, and he misses. So it goes right past Astaro, but Astaro's going to get a chance to perceive where he was at. His passive perception is not that great, so we're going to have him roll on that. He only gets a +1. Oh, it's a critical miss on a perception check. He has no clue where that bolt came from. Not a 1. No idea. So that bandit remains hidden. Alright, so back to the bandit captain. So the bandit captain is now engaged in fighting both Stumbleduck and Mara. Now, he could use his action to disengage and move away, but if he does, then he loses his chance to attack. So he is going to instead continue his attack on the raging Stumbleduck, who's right in his face. So again, he gets 3 attacks. And let's see here. Bandit Captain. So 3 plus a 3 to hit with a scimitar. I don't think that's going to be enough. No, we got to get 16. And another roll. So that would be 11. He's still not enough. So he swiped twice with the scimitar. Stumbleduck is dodging out of the way of it very rapidly. And so he then attempts to hit him with his knife. And it looks like as he's dodging out of the way, the bandit captain gets in with that knife, his dagger in there. And so he's going to take another 5 damage for Stumbleduck. Alright, so Stumbleduck is not looking well, but he's not quite down. He's not quite out of it yet. He's still got that rage going, so he's been slashed around and stabbed, but he's still fighting. Alright. So next up is Mara. So Mara here again is, right up on this bandit captain, and she's going to keep taking the fight to this bandit captain, hoping that her friends can, take out these smaller bandits that are causing trouble. She wants to keep that attention and keep the pressure on this bandit captain. So she's going to continue to try to attack him. So her great sword, she's going to attack with that. And 15, and I think that is enough to hit this bandit captain. 15, yes. So now, because the great sword is this huge weapon, it's got 2d6 plus 3 for its hit. So let's roll that bad boy. Alright, yeah, so she does 12 mighty damage to this bandit captain. Big swipe at him. So while he's busy trying to stab Stumbleduck, she comes up and just lays waste to him, or lays into him with this big old great sword. Now it's Stumbleduck's turn. So he could disengage and try to move away, but he's going to rely on the help from his friends to keep him going, and he's just going to keep trying to attack this particular, keep pressure on this guy as well. Because he's raging, and a critical miss, so we'll have to figure out how that plays out. We'll go ahead and roll a d20 to see how that goes. Alright, so that being a 9, we're not going to say that was bad. It's nothing too bad. He just made a miss. And then we're going to roll again for his other axe. And a nat 20. So he missed with the first one, but then he came around and hit with the second one. And that is double damage on that. So we'll roll this. So it's 3, so it would be double that, so it's going to be 6 more damage to him. Plus the 2 from the melee. So let's go back to that. He's got 2 from raging, so that's actually 10 damage. He's going to be double as 10. So we're going to take another 10 off of him. Alright. Alright, so bandit number 2. Where is he? Over here. So he is still hiding behind the tree, going to try to support his bandit captain by aiming at... can't really hit Stumbleduck without necessarily 3/4. Basically, the captain is in his way, so he's obscuring a good shot at Stumbleduck, which would give him about 3/4 coverage, which gives Stumbleduck an extra 5 to his AC. So it's going to be pretty hard for him to hit. He'd have to get a nat 20 in order to hit Stumbleduck, or above 20 to hit Stumbleduck. So he's going to try to shoot at Mara to try to help take some pressure off of the bandit captain. So let's roll for him. And he rolled a 2, so yeah, he shot really badly. Just missed Mara really badly. Maybe it's because of his injuries, and he's just not quite, he's kind of seeing a little hazily, and didn't quite make that shot. So now it's Nightbreeze's turn. And Nightbreeze, she takes those other 5, she runs forward with those other 5 good berries, and she just reaches around and throws them into Stumbleduck's mouth, and he, realizing what's happening, starts chomping down on them, and he's going to get 5 of his hit points back. So let's get 5 back for him. There we go. Okay. So that's her movement. Now, she could continue moving. She only used a few feet movement, so she could move still. Basically, you can move and do your action, or you can do your action and then move, or you can move, do your action, and then continue moving. But she's going to stay with the group because she doesn't want to expose herself any more than she really is at the moment. So let's go ahead and see who's next. We've got Rurik who's next. So Rurik, who is not sure where, he knows that somewhere, he doesn't even know which direction the bolt came from because he got such a bad roll there. He is going to attack this gentleman here. Again, he is stuck behind a tree, giving him some cover, so he's going to use the Sacred Flame again to try to get this this bandit out in the open. So he's going to use Sacred Flame, which is, yeah, he's got to do a 13 dex save. So we'll look at that. Bandit number 3. Yep. We'll roll for him to do a dex save. Oh, and he only got a 12, so he didn't quite make that jump out of the way, and he gets hit by this flaming ball that lands in that area. So he's going to take Rurik. So, wrong one. I rolled that one. There we go. So he's going to get 6 damage. So that particular bandit is going to take 6 damage from fire damage, from the flame. Alright, so now it's not looking so good for the bandits. We've got this one that's hurt. This one still isn't quite out in the open. We got another bandit that's hurt, and the bandit captain is slowly being taken down. Alright, so we've got Astaro who's next. Now Astaro, again, he has no idea where that bolt came from, and the DM would not have revealed where this location of this bandit is. He just knows that a bolt came out of nowhere and went right by him. Let's see. So what he's going to do is he's going to move over and get a clear shot of this bandit over here who, well, actually, he's slightly behind cover. So he is going to, well, let's see if there's something else we can do with the Astaro. Yeah, this is why you want to know your characters before you really start to fight, so you know kind of what their abilities are and what they can do. So we've used up all of our slots there. So we've got, really, all we've got left is Firebolt, which is not too bad. We've got Mage Hand, Minor Illusion, Thaumaturgy. So really, Firebolt's going to be our go-to. So we're going to end up trying to shoot Bandit 2 from behind his cover. He's got a +2 to his AC from being behind partial cover. So let's go ahead and do that. Ooh, 15. Still a good hit, though. Still a good hit. Even being behind partial cover, we hit that Bandit 2. Actually, let's see. Bandit 1 should have been dead. And Bandit 2 is still alive. It's alright. It's alright if we mess that up. Your DM will be able to fix this. Alright, so let's go ahead and... Oops, it should be 6. Nope. Let's go ahead and run Astaro's hits. So a D10. So he gets hit for 8 fire damage. Okay, so this is a little bolt of fire that just shoots out and catches this bandit right in the chest and burns a hole right through him. So that bandit is now a dead man. Another one slumps to the ground. So now there's only 2 bandits left. One we haven't found yet, or seen, and then the bandit captain. So we will go next. That bandit is gone, so bandit 3 is still available. Bandit 3 is still... There's still a fight in the captain. He is relying on his... bandit allies to kind of, help this fight. And so this bandit is going to still try to keep his fight going by using his crossbow. And he's going to make a shot at Stumbleduck because Stumbleduck's been hit by the captain. So let's go ahead and roll for that. So 12 plus 13, and that hits. Okay, so 5 damage to Stumbleduck. So those 5 points we got back from the gooseberries, or the good berries, are gone. So he shoots a bolt right into the side of Stumbleduck. Now, if we hadn't had the gooseberries, we'd be down, and so we wouldn't be dead, but Stumbleduck would be hurting on the ground and trying not to die. So he'd be collapsed on the ground. But the good berries helped out with that. Oh wait, that's right. He's resistant because of the rage. I almost forgot about this. He is actually resistant to damage, so he takes half damage rounded up. So or rounded down. So he takes 2 damage. So he actually only takes 2 from that bolt. And yeah. And he actually only took a couple from that one before that too, from the bandit captain. So he's actually not too bad at all because he's raged up. That's the good thing about rage. Early on, especially whenever you're fighting lower level characters that don't have magical weapons, then that's a really good thing about rage. And I almost forgot about that because I'm trying to run 5 characters instead of a single one. So this is why you need to know your what your characters can do. All right, so let's see here. Next up is this hidden guy, who is going to take another shot at Astaro, try to take out this wizard who just took out one of his friends. And so let's go ahead and roll for him. $17 plus the plus 3. So he gets a 20, so that's definitely going to hit Astaro. Astaro is going to take 5 damage. And as a wizard, that's pretty heavy. He's hurt pretty bad from that bolt. But we're going to see if he gets a chance to figure out where that came from. And because he actually got hit by the bolt and can judge where, he's pretty intelligent, can kind of judge where that bolt came from, we're going to roll an advantage on that perception check. Didn't do us any good anyways, though. So he still doesn't quite sure where it came from. He's got a general idea, but he still hasn't managed to spot this guy. So I can let him know, as a DM, I'd let him know that it came from this general direction. It could be any of these trees, but it's coming from this direction. So now Astaro could, be focusing his thoughts that way. Alright, so we're back to the top of the page. So that was all of the people on this turn, on the turns. So now we're on round 3. So if we're doing 6 seconds, 18 seconds is now passing with this third round here. So all that combat happened within the first 10 to 15 seconds of combat. Alright, so we've got the bandit captain here. Oops. Didn't do that. And his attacks, of course, he's going to, keep trying to fight his way through this group. He hasn't been hurt enough yet to realize he's outmatched, so he's going to try to take out Stumbleduck, who's been hit pretty hard and is still right in his face. He's not turning his attention to splitting up his... He's already started to do some damage to Stumbleduck, so if he was to attack Mara now, he's now splitting his attacks between 2 different people, and that's not going to help him. So he's going to just keep focusing on the one person that's in front of him that's already taken some damage from him. So let's do the bandit captain. So we roll that. Oh, and nat 20. Oh, that's not good for Stumbleduck. And 14 plus 5, 19. Oh, Stumbleduck's taking a beating now. And his dagger, so he hits on every single attack. The first one is the hardest too. So Stumbleduck is gonna take 12 damage from that attack. He's gonna take another 6 damage from his scimitar, and he's gonna take another 5 damage from that. So that's a total of 12, 18, 20, 23 damage. Half of that would be 11, because you round down. So 11 damage to Stumbleduck, and that's going to be enough to cause him to be overtaken. So now Stumbleduck is knocked out onto the ground, bleeding out, essentially. He is not quite dead. You're not dead unless you take more damage. If that was to continue, if he was to continue to getting hit by damage, and he took more damage than his health, so if he took more than 14 more damage while he's in these death throes, then he would officially die. But he's just kind of like hurt really bad and like in the throes of death, but not quite there. We'll get to the death saving throws if we can make it back to him before this is over. So Mara here sees that her friend is down, and she's just gonna continue just wail on this guy, trying to take down this bandit captain, and hoping that maybe shouting at the cleric to help out Stumbleduck. So let's go ahead and roll. for Mara against the bandit captain. 19, so she hit him again. So we'll roll that. Ooh, 13 more damage. So she is just taking advantage of this opening that the bandit captain has done. So now the bandit captain is at 20, so he's at a quarter, about a third of his health. Alright, so it's Stumbleduck's turn. Now Stumbleduck, on his turn, since he is in the throes of death, he has to do a death saving throw. And so, let's see here. So he's got to roll a d20, and he's got to get 11 or better for it to be, a 10. Okay, so that counts as one of his failures. So if he gets 3 failures in a row, if he gets 3 failures, he's officially dead. He has to get 3 successes to kind of stabilize his health. So he takes one of those. All right. So the next up is our bandit is dead. Nightbreeze. Nightbreeze is up. So Nightbreeze, let's see, look at what she's got left for her spells. She's got more good berries, but I think we're gonna let the cleric take over for healing. So she's gonna just kind of switch to attack mode. Now this is why the druid is pretty interchangeable to things. She can become an attacker. She can become a healer. Her support kind of shifts depending on how you play her and what kind of spells she has available. So she has Shillelagh that she can use as some bonus damage. So she's going to run forward and she's going to take her spear, and she's going to take the place of putting on the pressure on this bandit captain with her spear. So she's going to roll for that with two-handed. And so she missed with that, but she can roll with her Shillelagh. And 17, so she did hit with that. But she only got 4 damage, but that's okay. Every little bit helps, because he's already kind of hurt. Oops, 4. Okay. All right. So Rurik is up, and now he sees that Stumbleduck is down, and he's going to be saving some of these cure wound spells and stuff. So he's going to run up, and he is going to help Stumbleduck by casting Cure Wounds. He's going to touch him and speak some magic or divine words, maybe misquote a sacred text, and going to cast these Cure Wounds here. And so there's just has to be touching. There's no hit requirement. So he's rolling. 8 plus 3 gives him 11. So that is a nice recovery for Stumbleduck. So he's going to get 11 health. Oops. So Stumbleduck is now knitted up mostly. His skin kind of knits back together, where his blood loss is no longer happening, and so yeah, he's back on his feet and ready to, or not necessarily on his feet, but he's back ready to get into the fight. He's still prone. He needs to get up, but he is definitely back into the fight. So let's look at who's next. Astaro. So now Astaro, he didn't ever get figure out where this guy was. So he is instead going to shift his attention away. He's going to make a movement over here and try to get out of the range of sight of this other guy that he hasn't yet figured out where they're at. And so he's going to come running over here, charging this guy that he's been hit pretty hard. Which I think we actually killed him, if I remember right. Oh no, I guess, yeah, we did kill him. So he's dead. These 2 bandits are gone. So instead, he's going to run over here and get out of the way of the line of sight of this other bandit that he hasn't quite seen. cause that bandit to come out in the open or something so you can see him, or so they can be spotted. And he's going to make a shot at this particular bandit that's sitting over here with his firebolt again. So 12. I don't know if that's enough to hit the bandit. Oh, it's barely enough. The bandit's only got a leather armor, and he's only got one dexterity, so yeah, it's got a 12 for armor class. So that is enough to hit him with this firebolt, and he hits him with the firebolt, and ooh, 9 damage. Alright, I think this guy is toast. Yeah, that guy's toast. So he runs over, shoots his firebolt, and takes out the other bandit. All right. So who's left? We've got the bandit captain, and we've got the guy over here that's hiding. So this guy, he has been hiding behind this tree. He is going to attempt to sneak out and come over here and get behind this. But to do that, he's got to roll a stealth check to keep hidden, because if he exposes himself, he can easily be seen by these guys over here. They're a little distracted, so I'm going to give him an advantage on that. But he could be easily perceived. So let's give him advantage on this roll. We're going to have to do a stealth check. Now stealth falls under dexterity, so we'll roll with a +1. So he's got a 13 or 15, 16. So yeah, so this whole group is distracted, and so he sneakily runs over here, and now he's going to make another shot at Astaro from being hidden. So he's going to get advantage on that roll as well. A 4 or 7, because we got to add in the 3, or a 21 or 18. So 18 definitely hits Astaro. Astaro finds himself also falling to the floor from 5 damage. So he is also collapsed by taking a second bolt. And he's not going to get to do a perception check since he got knocked out with that. Alright, so we are back to our bandit captain. Now, the bandit captain started to see the writing on the wall. He has lost 3 of his bandits that he knows of. The other one hasn't been exposed, but he knows before the fight how many people he had backing him up, and he's lost several of them. He is surrounded by 3 potential enemies, and he is in trouble himself with a lot of damage. And so what he's going to do is he's going to attempt to disengage as his action, and then he's going to turn and run 30 feet. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay? And so he's trying to make a break for it. And we'll see if he makes it away in time, or if we can stop him. So next up is Mara. So Mara's going to give chase. Now, Mara can run. She's a human, so she can also run 30 feet. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'll be 30 feet. So she can easily catch up to him. And she's going to attempt to grapple him. Instead of killing him, she wants to take him in alive. For some reward money. So she goes to grapple him. And so that's going to be a strength check for both. So she's going to try to grab him and grapple him and take him to the ground. So she's going to roll a strength check, which would be right here. Actually, it would be athletics. Okay, so she rolled a 24. So now the bandit, to avoid being grappled, also has to either roll, gets to choose to roll a strength check to kind of break the free of the grapple, or a dodge using dexterity to try to avoid being grappled altogether. So let's see which one's higher for him. So we're probably going to go with dexterity on that. So he's got to beat a 24 or higher. And it's a critical miss. So not only does he not get grappled, but he falls to the ground with Mara wrapped around him on top of him. And from that fall, that trip and fall, he's going to take a couple more damage from that. And that's just something I'm awarding as damage for the critical miss because I'm the DM. Alright, so Mara has this guy drop to the ground. The other bandit, seeing the writing on the wall, disengages and runs away to fight another day. And that ends the combat. Mara has this man on the ground, and he's hurt. He gives up. It puts up a little bit of struggle, but he gives up shortly afterwards. And the rest of the group joins him. Now, Baldric will use another cure to heal up, or Nightbreeze can use a good berry, or Baldric or Rurik can use a cure wounds to heal Astaro. Or if they have in their packs, and you might have this in your Explorer pack, if you have in your equipment. Nope, they don't have it. But you might have something in your equipment that says like bandages or stuff. You can stabilize them to give them 1 hit point if you don't have any healing spells or healing stuff. But so Rurik uses that. Mara uses some of her rope to tie up the bandit. She's got 50 feet of rope, which she can use to tie the bandit up. And the 5 heroes take the bandit captain back to town to be tried. And that is a combat scenario. Hope you enjoyed watching me play through that. Hopefully you got some good ideas, kind of got an idea of how combat flows. And really, it's really about learning what your character can do. So really take some time, if you're a spellcaster, to look at your spells, to really kind of read what they're about, what they do. Just click on them. Read what they do, what the requirements are. Now, we didn't really talk about this. Components, and these are the things that are required for the spell casting. And so it really depends on your DM whether or not they make you have all of the requirements, but there are typical things that are required. Let's see if we can find that has all three. Okay, so you'll see here that the V stands for verbal, so you have to be able to speak. So if you were silenced for some reason magically, or you bit your tongue or something like that and couldn't speak, then you couldn't cast this spell. Somatic means that you have to be able to move your hands. You're doing arcane hand rituals, and so you have to be able to speak and move your hands in order to do this particular spell. This last one here, it's not one that necessarily every DM uses. They just kind of make the assumption that you have a bag of components that you use. Some of them make you keep track of your components. This just depends on how hardcore your DM wants to be. But most is just assume if you're a wizard or if you're a spellcaster that you have a little components bag that you use. And some might require for like the more spells, the higher spells, like if you were a paladin, then it needed a diamond to use the resurrect spell, they'd actually require you to have a diamond because it's not something that you necessarily would have just lying around or easily bought. So this one right here, a little bit of fleece, so it requires you some somatic spells and a little bit of fleece. You don't have to say anything because that might mess up your illusion. If you're trying to create an illusion to distract somebody, if you were to say something, then it would, kind of mess that up. So it just requires you to use your hands and a little bit of fleece, and it causes the spell to happen. So just, get to know your character. Get to know the things that your character can do, their actions, um, and kind of think about what would your character do in a situation. And if you can plan out some of the situations that you would do, some of the things you're going to do in a fight beforehand, it makes things go a lot more smoothly, so that all you really have to worry about is the things that you weren't expecting to happen. If you are role-playing your character, your DM can give you what's called inspiration. And so if you have inspiration, you can use an inspiration to re-roll or roll of advantage on some sort of, you kind of use those to help boost your abilities and stuff like that by giving you advantages and stuff like that. And your DM can reward inspiration when you act out your character in a very expected manner. If you're a chaotic neutral and you act like the chaotic side of you, and you're not really a good guy or bad guy, then you're kind of playing your character as that, really getting into that role. And that's where a little bit of theater comes in. If you're talking in a voice that you might give your character, that can be a little bit of role play as well. All right, and so here's one we didn't look at: short rest. So let's say Astaro has 1 hit point. He's going to do a short rest, and he's going to use his wizard hit die, which he gets 1 at level 1. This gives him a +1. So he is going to roll a d6. +1, that gives him a 5. So he doesn't need to take a long rest unless he wants to. A long rest would give him back his spells. But let's say he still had some spells left. He could just do a short rest and now he's got a short rest happening, and so he could continue going on until you guys decide to take a long rest, which a long rest would then nope, don't want to do that. There we go. I'll have to fix that. But okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed this particular tutorial. Thanks for watching.